Let's say you get the chance to upgrade from economy to business class on an overnight international flight. What's the lowest amount of money you'd be willing to pay to secure that upgrade? Well, I just so happened to be in that exact position when flying from Panama City to Chicago with Copa Airlines. In this video, we'll cover pretty much all you can expect when flying business class on the 737-800 as we embark on this 5-hour red-eye flight back home. Buenas tardes from Tocumen International Airport's Terminal 2. After arriving here from Bogota, I've got around 3 hours before my onward flight to Chicago. Tocumen is by far the easiest international airport I've ever connected through, primarily because there is no transit security. But yes, the distances to walk between gates, especially if you're going from Terminal 2 to 1 like I am today, can be pretty far, but there are inter-terminal shuttle buses available as well. My first stop during my layover was the Copa Club, the airline's dedicated business class lounge. Given I upgraded to business class for tonight's flight, all I needed to do was show my boarding pass at the front desk, and I was granted access. Now, a common complaint that I've heard about this lounge is that it's frequently overcrowded, which was absolutely the case today. And given that all of Copa's flights are scheduled in banks throughout the day, you will also most likely encounter a busy lounge as well. Aside from that, it is a nice place to sit, be productive, or just relax before your flight. There is a good amount of seating overall. Sometimes it might not be enough because I saw people sitting on the floor, alongside free Wi-Fi, shower rooms, bathrooms, a theater, and free food. Now, I do apologize, I barely filmed anything in the lounge just because there were people everywhere. The food offerings were also very mediocre, just some salad and chicken pasta, so all I grabbed were the desserts, some chocolate and vanilla sponge cakes, which to be fair were quite delicious. I also really liked how, just like the United Clubs, the Copa Club has a whole wall of the airline's in-flight magazines, and each copy is free to take. Lastly, like most lounges, there are no announcements, so you do have to keep track of time and reference the flight information boards. Needless to say, I didn't see any point in staying in the lounge because honestly, I'd have a better use of time just being in the terminal itself. Our flight departs from Terminal 1, the older side of Tocumen Airport, and along the way I decided to grab some proper dinner and also something for the flight just in case. So how much did I pay for this upgrade? Well, let me first start by saying that Copa is one of the easiest airlines to find affordable business class fares on. Initially, I had booked this trip to Bogota for January with the outbound journey completely in business class, which if I recall correctly was around $318 one way. Long story short, I rescheduled this trip and the full story is in this earlier video linked above. Initially, this rescheduled trip was booked entirely in economy, but Copa always offers passengers the chance to bid for a business class upgrade in the days leading up to their flight. For this flight to Chicago, a guaranteed upgrade was $347. However, you could bid as low as $212, and then it would just be up to the airline to accept it. And that's exactly what I did. I bid the lowest amount, $212, and then 2 days before my flight, I got an email saying that my bid was accepted and I had secured a seat in business class. Now, I'd say $212 for this red-eye 5-hour flight was a reasonable upgrade price to pay, but let me know what you think. As with any international flight into the US that's not pre-cleared, there was an additional security check before entering the gate. I couldn't get the best view of our aircraft, but tonight we're graced with a special livery. The Connect Miles 737-800 will be our ride back to Chicago, with Connect Miles being Copa's loyalty program. I've seen this plane maybe 3 times before, both in Chicago and Guatemala City, so it was super cool getting to fly on it finally. Boarding started on time with business class passengers boarding in Group 1. I had bought some chocolates for the crew beforehand, and it was amazing seeing their reactions when I handed them the bag of Toblerone during boarding. For this flight, I'm in 5A in the last row of the business class cabin. The seats are wide and decently comfortable, and if you're familiar with American Airlines' domestic first class on the narrow-body aircraft, it's the exact same seat. This is the newly updated cabin on Copa with a literature shelf, device holder, small seat pocket, and decent leg space. The tray table is found in the armrest and folds out. On the center console, you'll find some in-seat storage alongside universal power sockets, as well as the recline button. Pre-departure beverages were handed out, and I just went with a water served in not a plastic cup like we have back in the States, but paper.
bienvenida a bordo del vuelo 235 con destino a Chicago. El tiempo estimado de vuelo será de 5 horas 15 minutos aproximadamente y las condiciones a lo largo de la ruta se encuentran despejadas con algunas áreas de ligera turbulencia. Es por eso que les pedimos y recomendamos que permanezcan con el
One of the more disappointing aspects of this flight was that there were no blankets or pillows offered, and I say that's disappointing mainly because this is an overnight flight and we land in Chicago around 1 a.m. And I also bring this up because I noticed that my flight from Chicago to Panama City had pillows and blankets offered in business class, so I was expecting that tonight. Dinner service began with some delicious warm crackers and nuts alongside drinks, for which I chose water served in a beautiful glass. Dinner orders were taken on the ground before pushback, and the choices tonight were either chicken or beef pasta. Now, this was interesting because Copa doesn't offer halal options, and so I couldn't have either the chicken or the beef pasta. As such, the crew offered to get me one of the economy class dishes, which was a mushroom rice dish. Otherwise, the business class meals were served with a cream soup, I forgot what specifically, as the appetizer, and then also a warm bread roll. So I guess it kind of was a good move to buy sushi before the flight, but in all honesty, the food was really good regardless. We were all given tres leches pudding for dessert, which was as yummy as it looks, and I haven't felt this full on a plane in a really long time. I really appreciated the crew being so accommodating of my dietary needs, and that economy class rice dish was really good too. As I've discussed in earlier videos, Copa used to offer seatback entertainment on the 737-800s. However, here in business class, the seats would fold out from inside the seat. Unfortunately, it is true, Copa is getting rid of those screens and opting instead for streaming entertainment through the ShowPass app. I would have showcased that in this video, but my iPad was in my bag up in the overhead bin, and my seatmate was asleep, so I didn't think it was worth waking him up. Copa does still offer seatback entertainment, but only on the 737 MAX 9 in business class and economy plus. That is an aircraft where if you can find a good deal in business class, definitely take it because those seats go fully lie flat as well. Otherwise, I tried to get some sleep for the rest of the flight, and soon enough we were on descent into Chicago.
Pasajeros, bienvenidos a Chicago. La hora local, 1:04 a.m.
After rebooking and paying all of the change fees, my ticket was just under $674, but now adding the $212 upgrade, this was the total. A little too much to my liking, especially given I was only flying to Colombia, but my ticket would have expired by November, and I couldn't let it go to waste. Overall, a great flight on Copa. The crew was fantastic, and they kept thanking me for the chocolates I got them, which was very sweet. I think the only thing that could have enhanced this red-eye flight even more was providing blankets and pillows, especially for a premium cabin, which would have gone a long way. Now, would I fly Copa in business class again? Yes, definitely if I can find a good deal, and I'd definitely love to try the 737 MAX 9's Dreams business class someday as well. Overall, I loved flying Copa Airlines on this trip, and I hope to be back on board sometime in the future. Now, for my recent international travels, customs at O'Hare hasn't been too bad. Tonight, however, it was a different story, but not for the reason you're thinking. All of the computers somehow suffered an outage, so the officers couldn't process anyone for around 40 minutes. Of course, it wasn't their fault, and I felt bad because they couldn't provide us with any updates. Thankfully, and eventually, we made it through, and now it's time to go home. Thanks so much for watching, and though this trip may be over, more content is on the way, so stay tuned. Until next time, take care everyone, and I'll see you real soon.